So now they're turning up the heat. The evil, Gates-subsidized monsters who are trying to take over the world and turn us all into slavish zombies must be feeling very cocky. In the UK, the government decided that we all have to wear masks in shops. On July the 24th, the coronavirus is going to mutate, stop being a fairly feeble flu bug and become something as deadly and dangerous as one of the Clintons. And so on the 24th of July, we have to start dressing up as bank robbers whenever we go shopping. The shop assistants don't have to wear masks, but the shoppers do. Apparently, according to Boris the buffoon, the coronavirus can't jump to or from a shop assistant, but can jump to or from a shopper. How clever the coronavirus is to know how to do this. Of course, if a shop assistant pops into a neighbourhood shop, then they have to put a mask on, because then they become a customer, and when they're a customer, they can catch the virus and spread it. Another oddity is that although the coronavirus can infect shoppers, it can't affect people who work in offices. It seems that this very intelligent virus just seems to say to itself, I can infect these people because they're just out shopping, but I mustn't infect these people because they're working. If all this sounds like unscientific gibberish, that's probably because it's totally unscientific gibberish. And how clever too for the authorities to know that people in shops must wear masks but not give their names and addresses, whereas people in pubs must give their names and addresses but not wear masks. If we weren't fighting a war against the most evil cabal ever put together in the history of mankind, then it would be laughable. And look at the history behind this latest change of heart. Professor Jonathan Van Tam, Deputy Chief Medical Officer, previously announced that there was no need to wear a mask. And Michael Gove, a weedy little British politician who's about as far removed from being a statesman as Bill Gates is from being a doctor, said that the UK government didn't plan to insist that we all wore masks in shops. I bet he feels an idiot now. Because within hours, Boris Johnson, our Führer, backed up by laws which would have been envied by Stalin, Hitler and Attila the Hun, not to mention Vlad the Impaler and Genghis Khan, suddenly decided, seemingly all by himself, that the entire nation should wear masks whenever they ventured into a shop. Everyone knows the disease has almost died out. It'll soon be less of a threat than athlete's foot. If the coronavirus were a pop record, it would be about to slip out of the top 100 and slide into oblivion. So what's happened to change the mind, or rather the pint of rancid pond water that's inside Boris's skull? Well, the only thing new that I could find was a bit of research performed by a team at Cambridge University. They seem to have concluded that wearing masks was a good thing. And guess what the bloke who did the research does for a living? His name is Richard Stutt, and he usually models the spread of crop diseases. Crop diseases! He's another bloody modeller like Ferguson. Our analyses support the immediate and universal adoption of face masks by the public, Stutt is quoted as saying. And he works on crop diseases, and suddenly he knows all about whether we should wear face masks or not. You'd think Boris would by now be wary of modelers, wouldn't you? But then maybe not, if they give him the news he wants. My researches suggest that there's going to be a glut of mathematical modelers receiving knighthoods in the New Year's Honours List. Did Stutt recommend the wearing of masks to stop the flu last year? The mortality risk with the flu is pretty well identical to the risk with COVID-19. Has he recommended the wearing of masks to stop the spread of TB? Perhaps I should remind him that a quarter of the global population is said to be infected with TB, a disease which kills over 1.5 million people a year. If we need one mask for the coronavirus, then we need 4 masks each for tuberculosis. We have little to lose from the widespread adoption of face masks, said a Dr. Redcute. I think the mistake this lot have made has been in focusing on the R number, the number being infected. Bugger the R number, it's of absolutely no real significance. What matters is the D number that nobody ever talks about, the number dying. And the D number has fallen dramatically because they've stopped killing old people in care homes. If Stutt and Retcute were doctors, medical doctors, they might understand this better. Why don't they stick to crop diseases? Nothing to lose by wearing masks. I know of 2 people who died because they wore masks and the hypoxia killed them. How's that for nothing to lose? But then we must remember that it is the government's plan to help reduce the world population and thereby win the hearts of Bill and Melinda Gates. Maybe my scepticism about anything coming out of Cambridge University, where the crop disease bloke works, has been heightened since the university accepted $210 million from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Everywhere you look, the Gates Foundation has left its dirty fingerprints. The bottom line is that I'm convinced that there's no sound medical reason to wear a mask. Masks are bad for us physically, and they're bad for us mentally. If you look at the risk-benefit ratio, then the risks are far greater than the benefits. The only reason for our being forced to wear masks is to oppress us, to frighten us, and to turn us into pathetic slaves of the beast. If you wear a mask, then they own your body, your mind, and your soul. That's it. Game over. And now that they've made mask wearing compulsory, when will they ever reverse the law? What do you think? 3 months? 9 months? 12 months? The correct answer, in case you're interested, is probably never. They've said that we will have to wear masks in shops until the vaccine is ready, and that could be 5, 10 or 15 years or longer. This is going to be the new abnormal. How many people will be killed by wearing masks in the next 12 months? Your guess is as good as mine, and almost certainly better than that of any politician. A friend of mine who suffers from anxiety intends to tell shopkeepers that wearing a mask gives her a panic and a fainting attack, and would they please make sure they have someone trained in first aid to follow her around their shop. Those with respiratory and heart disorders fear that if they don't conform and wear masks, they might be subjected to abuse from mask-wearing zombies. The utterly loathsome Hancock, the UK's Minister of Gibberish, says that shop staff should call the police if a customer isn't wearing a mask. If they don't, then another busybody customer will probably do the snitching for them. To me, it all seems part of the plan to smash society and create distrust. And of course the mask wearing will help to destroy shops, so that we do all our shopping online. Hancock is, to me, like the appalling Macron in France, living proof of the validity of the Peter Principle, that members of a hierarchy are promoted until they reach the level at which they are no longer competent. Come to think of it, that's true of Johnson too. Shame on the Conservative Party. Let's have a general election and dump these evil bastards onto the political scrap heap. Compared to Boris Johnson, the pathetic and utterly woeful Theresa May was a beacon of strength, probity and wisdom. I can't believe I said that, but it does show the level of contempt I have for Johnson. It's now clear that the Buffoon Act wasn't an act. He is a buffoon, clearly as under-endowed in the brain department as you can imagine. Incidentally, the psychologists advising the government obviously think that the term face covering, the new preferred term, is somehow more acceptable than the word mask. Or maybe their contempt for us is so complete that they think we won't notice that there's something of a similarity between an item called a face mask, which covers the lower half of the face, and something quite different called a face covering, which covers the lower half of the face. Boris, you crooked, ignorant, deceitful, two-faced, cheating, betraying bastard, we would know they were masks if the PSYOPs specialists suggested you called them lemon meringue pies. Alternatively, it's impossible, of course, that it's impossible to deny that masks are part of some satanic ritual, along with the constant hand-washing, the social distancing, and the house arrests. When we've got through this war and won the conflict against our own governments, we will never forget or forgive Boris Johnson's perfidy or his government's total betrayal of the voters. Johnson will join Blair as a candidate for the War Crimes Tribunal. The terrible thing is that many people have already fallen for the nonsense. The other day I drove to a local supermarket. I spotted a few people wearing masks. From their eyes, half of them looked arrogant and very well pleased with themselves, as though they'd just been given a gold star or appointed milk monitor for the whole term. The other mask wearers looked terrified, as though they were expecting to be dead before they reached the safety of the checkout. Outside the supermarket I saw several people wearing masks, a young couple with a 4 or 5-year-old all wearing masks, a pair of teenagers wearing masks, a few middle-aged folk masked up, and a couple of old ladies in masks they'd obviously made for themselves, bless them. Oddly enough, I didn't see any elderly men wearing masks. I don't know why. The town looked so sad. Apart from the supermarket, the only shops open were 2 nail parlours, both empty, an ironmonger, I was the only customer there, and a charity shop. Everything else was closed, probably permanently. It's clearly not being unfair to say that the mask wearers are not God's brightest creations. However, the really sad thing is that the mask-wearing zombies are too stupid, too ill-informed to realise that they're playing into the enemy's hands. Some of the zombies actually seem to think they're helping to save lives. If you try to tell them about the dangers of mask wearing, they'll point out that surgeons wear masks in the operating theatre, as though this had any relevance. What they don't realise is that surgeons wear masks to stop bits of saliva ending up in the wound. They don't wear them to prevent the flow of diseases. They don't usually wear them all day long. They don't wear them outside the operating theatre, and they certainly don't wear them while walking about and requiring extra oxygen. How can there be people who don't realise that in wearing masks they're aiding and abetting the thieving criminals who are stealing our freedom and our future? Anyone who wears a mask is a spineless and moronic collaborator, helping the worst people this world has ever seen. Independent research by a bunch of florists, mark you, not people who look at crop diseases, has shown that mask wearers aren't capable of thinking them for themselves. They're not very bright, they're followers, the sort of people who, as children, dreamt of being concentration camp guards. They never do anything or achieve anything. They are saddos, nerds and remainers, invariably devoted to the European Union. Put on a mask and you're bending a knee before Gates, Soros, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, Blair and the Clintons. One evil, soulless bunch. I've recorded 2 videos about Gates, by the way. Please watch them if you haven't. The first video is called Just a Little Prick Part 1. And with startling originality that I'm very proud of, the second video is called Just a Little Prick Part 2. The mass media invariably describe Bill Gates as a philanthropist. The BBC and The Guardian, both sharing some of the Gates wealth, probably think he should be known as Saint Bill. However, I'm going to try and get the Oxford Dictionary to revise its definition of the word philanthropist. It should read, a philanthropist is an evil crook who has absolutely no interest in the welfare of others, but who uses large donations of money to buy power and control and to make even more money. I'll suggest that synonyms of philanthropist should include slimy single-cell organism usually found at the bottom of filthy ponds. Just remember all that next time you see anyone describing themselves or being described as a philanthropist. The idiots wandering around in their little masks are bending the knee to the toxic Gates. In my view, are being so dangerous and diseased that he should be rammed into a test tube and kept in Madame Tussaud's chamber of horrors. Mothers could take their children and point him out as the definition of evil, and they're bending a knee to more candidates for the chamber of horrors. Blair, the hideous Clintons, the foul Obama, and the rest of the malignant crew. Oh, and the wretched Boris Johnson, too. The mindless mask wearers are collaborators, and when war ends, you know what happens to collaborators. Most of them are political innocents who voted Remain because they didn't bother to do enough research to know that the EU had been set up by Nazis to enable post-war Germany to control Europe. Finally, I'll leave you with my new mantra. No silly mask, no deadly vaccine, no social distancing. Please learn it, recite it and share it with the collaborators who seem determined to drag us down with them, but who will fail, because those of you who've seen the light have a monopoly on wisdom, courage and integrity. Two other small things. First, the channel is growing so fast that YouTube doesn't seem always manage to send out notifications about new videos. I'm sure this is just a technical hitch. We try to research, write, edit, record and put out a new one each day at 7 p.m. Though this doesn't leave much time for sleeping and eating and virtually none for dealing with emails. Second, as you know, we don't accept ads or sponsors or any money for the channel or the website, and I promise that we never will. However big the channel gets or the website gets, there'll never be any outside money involved. Unlike the BBC, for example, which sold out years ago and can't be trusted to tell the time, this is a genuine non-commercial public service channel. We specialise in the truth, served with a little spice, I hope, and leave bias, prejudice and fake news to the vastly overpaid cretins at the BBC. Thank you for watching An Old Man in a Chair, and thank you for all your support and encouragement. Please copy and share the videos on Twitter and Facebook and BitChute. If you'd like to put on a translation, that would be great. If the videos disappear, then please go to my website, www.vernoncoleman.com, to find out where you might be able to find them, or at least to read the transcripts. The transcripts of the banned videos are on the website too. This channel has not been monetized. I haven't authorized any ads, and there's no sponsorship, and there never will be any of either. There are no ads or sponsorship on the website. Although it may seem like it at times, please remember that you're not on your own. More and more people are waking up, and I firmly believe that together we will win this fight. If you go to mainstream media, please put on a note asking people to come and look at these videos to find the truth. Thank you for watching.